Dry and I live in Ward 1. And I've heard a lot of different ideas tonight, and it sounds to me like there's 3 or 4 different trash problems. And if we go to just solving one of them, that's not going to solve everything, and then people may be disappointed or frustrated that we went to a citywide cleanup and that didn't take care of the problem. So I think that whatever plan is created, you need to deal with the household trash for people who don't have service. You've got the big item pickup to be dealt with. And then you've got the litter problem, which I know is a big problem. I live on West Washington. I'm picking up trash from my yard all the time, including someone's yard sale signing for my yard. And then the other problem, it's not a problem, but I think it's something to also be considered, is recycling. I lived in a town of 14,000 people before I moved here 2.5 years ago, and part of our trash collection included a separate bin, like in Cape, for recycling. And I know it's always a challenge because you get the, people don't put the right things in the bins, and sometimes it wrecks the equipment when you've got the wrong stuff in there and things like that. But I would love to see, can it do something more on recycling? And EPA has some different grant programs available for rural communities like this one that doesn't have the infrastructure of large cities. So that's just another avenue to explore. So just wanted to share. I just think we need to look at multiple solutions for the multiple trash streams instead of just one fix.
That's why we're here. Thank you.
What was your name again? Lisa Dry.
Anybody else?
May I approach again?
Yeah.
Responding to some of the stuff that's been said from a vendor point of view, totally in agreement with the damage to the streets, comments made by Ray here, who's back here, several of you. Love to have you guys bring your trash to us. That's a joke. I understand the need to limit the damage to the streets. A couple of things that I want to address. If you're going to put a bid out, instead of worrying about one can, why don't you put a bid out that requires the vendor to provide or to allow 2 cans? And why don't you require that the vendor agree to have comeback service? So if somebody does forget to put their trash out, the vendor's required to come and get it. And that opens the door for everybody in the whole city forgot to put their trash out, I understand. But I spend the first hour of it, sometimes more than an hour every day, going back to get trash for people who needed to pay their bill and not had their trash picked up and finally did pay their bill, or people that forgot. And not to toot my own horn again, this is getting back to the reason why we would be the best, but we currently allow 2 cans. Hunter only uses 1 and it's stuck inside his fence off the alley. Riley, on the other hand, often has 2 very full cans.
I have 4 girls.
And we pick yours up for the same amount that we pick yours up, and if you added a can, I wouldn't charge you. So if you'll put a bid out that allows 2 cans, then you'll find that Friendly Waste offers quite a bargain, because other companies only allow 1 can. And if you had an additional can, then they double your costs. Kick that around a little bit.
So you're allowing the second one for no extra charge?
No extra charge. People that have done this for a long time told me I'm foolish for doing it. That's why my margins are so slim. But when we started, we didn't know a lot about trash margins, and we thought it was pretty reasonable to let people have 2 cans, and we've maintained that policy. You'd be amazed at the number of people that push that envelope and have 3 or 4 cans and then wonder why they do get charged a little bit extra on their bill. If you add the big item thing to the list, now you've got trucks running twice and you've defeated the keep the trucks off the street issue, by the way. You might want to think that through, because you had 2 ideas just bump heads. Don't mind picking them up. These trucks will heat a commercial refrigerator if you can get it up in there. So the big item is not a problem. Just need to figure out a better way than having the trucks go back, because now they've made a second trip on the fragile streets. If you decide to do this, please bear in mind, if I do this, and to Mr. Crafton Senior comment, I understand, I don't think he was directing it negatively toward me, but he could have very easily been, and I would have understood. Equipment is crucial. Equipment is horribly expensive. We have, as many of you probably know, we've had 3 major accidents in the last 6 months. 3 totals. We've scraped together parts to keep a couple of the trucks running, but even then had trouble. The supply line that you hear about on the news is real. Finding simple parts to fix a truck is not an easy thing. And so to keep myself afloat, doesn't matter how much it costs. I spent money that I did not have, thank you Mr. Merrill for lending it to me, to buy a brand new truck. And it would be really keen if I had a couple more of those, because it's great. It's great. The other clunkers I have are just gonna have to serve for now, because I don't have $200,000 sitting around for a new tractor. If you do this, a vendor like me, we provide a can for every one of our customers. If you want a second can, you have to provide it. A brand new can with Friendly Waste Management stamped on it is $70. I'd be looking at probably buying 2,000 cans, so I'm already in $140,000 just to give everybody a can that they can use. Then I gotta buy a truck or 2, and suddenly I'm pushing $600,000–700,000. So a 1-year contract is really neat and a good idea, so that you don't lock yourself in with somebody that's not going to do a good job. But it doesn't give my lender much confidence when I walk in and say, I got 12 months worth of this where I don't have to bill people and I get the money. Will you loan me $700,000 so that I can buy cans and 2 trucks that in a year from now I may not need?
John,
Yes.
what term of a contract do you think would be reasonable?
Well, the 1 year might be reasonable if there's some guarantees about renewal, as long as there are some pretty big, you didn't screw up, so we're going to renew it in it.
Well, I was thinking in terms of 3 years.
Yeah, well,
2
we
3 years.
had the contract to, not to harp on steel, but here's a quick backstory and everybody. I didn't want the steel contract. My 2 former partners who have now vamoosed and don't want any part of this, that have been bought out, wanted the steel contract because they wanted to get our name out there. So we took a bad contract for 5 years. 5 years in those conditions was not what we wanted. But between 1 and 5, 3 would probably be enough, at least for me to go and lay the contract on my lender's table and say, look, I got 3 years of guaranteed money.
That you have something that you can go to a lender with and say, I've got this for 3 years.
Right, yeah, 3, it's gonna need to be more than 1. Unless, like I say, it's a 1 year renewable and it's really wide open and guarantees that if we don't screw up, we're gonna get renewed. So, also, last comment, this is gonna take some time.
Oh, yeah, it's not gonna be solved tonight.
No, I don't mean the problem. I mean, if you decided to do it and you said, John, congratulations, you got the bid. Getting 1,000, 1,500 cans here, assembled and distributed, is going to be a massive undertaking. Getting trucks here, I can show you the text. I've been trying to buy a used trash truck since January. There are none to be had, unless you go to New York, and then you got the nightmare of trying to get it from New York to here without getting 9,000 tickets crossing the state line. I literally have a guy in Arnold, Missouri, who knows it. Everything there is to know about trash. I mentioned some wheelbarrow cans that I had one time. He had no idea. He said, you bought those from Sonny and Sykeston, didn't you? How would he know? Well, he knows everything. He's been trying to find me a used trash truck since January, which is again why I had to go and spend money I didn't have to get a new truck. So if you decide this, please understand you're going to have to give whoever does it, except Republic, who's going to have a fleet of trucks that they can send and do whatever. You're going to have to give a local, a small-time vendor like myself or Sharps plenty of time to get all this put together. It's going to be massive.
Thank you.
All right, before council starts up, do we have anybody else?
Could I offer one more?
It's, hang on,
You just get
we've got
to
someone that hasn't spoke.
Calm down, Chris, it's okay.
Go ahead.
You just need to jump on.
I just,
Be rude.
Since I
Go ahead.
retired, since I retired in 2001, I've been blessed with the ability to travel a lot. One of the trips, I drove all the way across this country, to Seattle, Washington. I did not get on the interstate. I took the back highway, whatever. And I went through a lot of small communities that were so clean and neat, and I would stop and ask them. And the one thing they had a municipal trash service that required everybody to clean up and pick up. The other part of it was, I traveled to Barcelona, Spain, and Italy and Greece and whatever, and Mr. Penosis can probably vouch for this, but in Barcelona, Spain, they had a total recycle program. They had a red dumpster, green dumpster, a yellow dumpster, and they were painted and polished like a new car. And there was not a single speck of trash anywhere on any streets. People were dedicated to the attitude that we're gonna recycle. We're not gonna throw our trash out and have the street commissioner pick it up. So our attitude about trash has a lot to do with the problem we've got in this town. People say, throw it, throw it, throw it. I mean, they come around the corner of my house and I end up with beer cans in my front yard. You know, and so it's an attitude thing as much as anything. But a recycle that was mentioned would take an extensive amount of work to get it put into effect. But if somebody's got somewhere to put everything, there should be no excuse not to.
Thank you.
Mr. Carr, you were cleaning up?
you got time?
Yeah, well,
You make it? Okay, I just want to hit on a few bullet points I heard.
Here again, second.